Energy doesn't just power machines. It determines which societies move forward and which fall behind. Hi, I'm Zawawi, and this isn't a technical discussion about power plants or fuel mixes. This is about how energy shaped Malaysia into a modern nation that it is today. Because history makes one thing very clear: no country has ever industrialized without energy. Malaysia's energy story didn't start after independence. It began decades earlier, and didn't start with oil. It started with coal. By independence, Malaysia's electricity system was still small. In 1965, the recorded data showed around 33 terawatt hours a year. The economy was rural, industry was limited, and cities were compact. But as Malaysia urbanized and entered global trade, energy demand didn't rise gently. It surged exponentially. Reliability became non-negotiable. Coal plants didn't care about weather, they didn't wait for daylight, and they didn't depend on wind. They powered factories, ports, and cities continuously without interruption, and that stability changed economic behavior. Reliable power built confidence, and confidence attracted investment. Investment allowed national scale, and that foundation is what turned natural resources into national advantage. By the 21st century, Malaysia had become a major oil and gas producer in Asia Pacific, and one of the world's leading LNG exporters globally. Energy security is not being abstract. It showed us as industrial growth, trade competitiveness, higher incomes, and modern cities that we have today in Kuala Lumpur. But every energy system carries a cost.
Currently, Malaysia consumes over 1,382 terawatt hours of energy annually, emitting over 290 million tons of carbon dioxide every single year forward. To put that into picture, it could fill up 64 million Olympic-sized swimming pools filled up with carbon dioxide gases every single year forward.
So the question becomes unavoidable. If fossil fuels built the nation, can they still sustain it? At the United Nations Climate Change Conference 26 in 2021 in Glasgow, Malaysia publicly and decisively committed for net zero emissions by 2050, a 45% reduction in emissions intensity by 2030. This was not a cosmetic policy. It was a pivot from expansion without limits to progress constrained by physics, climate, and reality. And that is where the story truly begins.
Energy is invisible until it disappears. Every light you switch on, every phone you charge, every digital transaction you complete, all of it is backed by a power system running continuously, silently, without pause. As 2024 and 2025, Malaysia electricity mix tell a blunt story. Coal 43%, natural gases 37%, fossil fuel total over 80%. Renewables, hydro, solar, bioenergy contribute less than 20% below the global average for comparable economies. This dependency carries consequences. In 2025 alone, Malaysia's energy sector released hundreds of millions of tons of carbon dioxide, with coal-fired power plant as the largest source. Yet, context matters. Fossil fuels have delivered grid stability, cost control, industrial reliability. They have kept factories running and lights on. But here lies the contradiction. The system that secures economic stability is the same system that erodes environmental security. Yes, solar capacity is growing. Yes, hydropower remains steady. Yes, renewable ambition is real. But progress is incremental, not exponential. Malaysia today is not stagnant. It is transitional. And transitions are not defined by promises, they are defined by execution speed.
Demand without destruction. The future must grow without growing emissions. Malaysia doesn't get to choose where the energy demand rises. With economic expansion and population growth and today digitalization, together they lock in one outcome. That is, more power will be needed, not less. The real choice is how that power is produced. To confront this reality, Malaysia launched the National Energy Transition Roadmap (NETR) in 2023, not as a vision statement, but as a timetable, as a guideline. Its targets are explicit: a 50% reduction in coal capacity by 2035, complete coal phase-out by 2044, a 40% renewable electricity by 2035 and 70% by 2050. This is where optimism usually enters the conversation. But optimism alone doesn't keep the grid stable. Since the roadmap's launch, 5.5 gigawatt of renewable capacity has been approved. Another 2 gigawatt is scheduled by 2026, this year. But here's a constraint the transition is colliding with. Energy systems don't evolve by addition. They evolve by replacement. Every megawatt of coal removed creates the gap. And today's renewables, on their own, cannot yet fill that gap. That's why natural gas re-enters the picture, not as a destination, but as a bridge. Modern gas turbines, especially when paired with hydrogen blending, can cut emissions up to 70% compared to conventional coal systems. Gas does three things renewables alone cannot yet guarantee. It stabilizes grids dominated by solar, it enables a transition to a hydrogen system, and it absorbs variability without blackouts. Meanwhile, renewable potential is uneven and must be treated honestly. Solar has the highest potential with the lowest cost and fastest to scale in Malaysia. We have a year-long sun. Biomass, we have a circular economy advantage via palm waste. Hydro is reliable but geographically constrained. Wind is very marginal. And geothermal and nuclear is technically viable, but it's institutionally complex. The future energy system will not be singular. It won't be ideological. It will be layered, diversified, and adaptive, designed for resilience and not purity of renewables. But technology doesn't decide transitions. Decisions do.
Energy transitions don't fail from lack of knowledge, they fail from lack of resolve. Malaysia is moving. GLCs, GLICs and multinationals are investing in clean energy, grid modernization and ESG integration. But globally, Malaysia sits in the middle tier, ahead of many developing nations yet far behind like Denmark and Iceland, where renewables dominate power generation. The gap is not geography. It is policy coherence, early investment and infrastructure readiness. Malaysia faces three structural bottlenecks. Firstly, fossil fuel subsidies that distort price signals. Secondly, a grid built for centralized power, not decentralized renewables. And lastly, capital inertia where ambition outpaces deployment. Yet the path forward is not speculative, it is strategic. The priorities are clear. Scale solar nationwide, invest in grid flexibility and storage, redirect subsidies towards low carbon systems, and de-risk private capital with policy certainty. Malaysia does not lack resources, it does not lack talent, it does not lack vision. What it lacks is technique, because energy transitions are not measured by targets on paper. They are measured by how fast intentions become infrastructure. If Malaysia acts decisively, it does more than decarbonize. It redefines leadership in Southeast Asia's energy future. That is the difference between planning for tomorrow and owning it.
And this brings us to the question that ties everything together. Malaysia's energy story is not a morality tale. Coal, oil, and gas, they were not mistakes. They were solutions to the problem of their time. They powered growth, they stabilized the economy, they raised living standards. The systems that succeed once cannot guarantee to succeed forever. Move too slowly and climate risk compounds. Move too recklessly and economic stability fractures. The nations that succeed won't be the ones with the boldest targets, boldest sustainability targets, highest of everyone in the world. But they'll be the ones with the fastest from decision to deployment. Malaysia has the resources, we have the potential, we have the brain, we have the workforce, the capacity, and the window of opportunity is big. What remains undecided is whether we will act in time. Because in the end, energy doesn't just power machines, it determines who leads the future. Thank you very much.